like to call to order the Peabody Planning Board meeting scheduled agenda for Thursday, January 16th, 2025, held 7 p.m., Peabody City Hall, Wigan Auditorium, Peabody, Mass. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the meetings of 11/21/24 and 12/5 of '24.
Mr. Chairman, move that we approve the minutes of the meetings of November 21st, 2024 and December 5th, 2024.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Dr. Otto, second. All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is 15 Newbury Street, map 88, lot 6. I have received, and is in your packet, a letter from Greenman Peterson, Inc. They respectfully request the withdrawal of the project from the planning board without prejudice. I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Chairman, move to allow the petitioner to withdraw without prejudice.
Second. Second.
Next item on the agenda is 2 Central Street, map 85, lot 59. This is an application by Michael May seeking the plan to review and renovate the existing building to convert it from a bank to a restaurant. This work will also include the construction of a seating deck located above the existing parking lot. All of the drive-through equipment and canopy will be removed as part of the project.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Representing?
Through the chair, with your permission, I'd like to recuse myself while this matter is being discussed.
Thank you. You're excused.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, in your packets, once Mr. Gonzalez leaves, in your packets for this evening as late ads, you will see that there is a letter submitted from the abutters to this parcel, and there's a letter of opposition. And then this evening, we just received correspondence from the applicant in response to the letter of opposition. Both would be considered late ads if the board chooses so to vote to add or to discuss this evening.
Mr. Chairman, in the matter of 2 Central Street, I move to receive a couple of late ads, one from a law firm, Megalotis and Gakis of Rosewood Drive in Danvers. There's a 2-page cover letter with a deed attached. Secondly, we have a communication that is quite lengthy. I'm not even sure where to begin on this. The cover letter starts with Andrew Levine, dated 1/16/25, Bob Lavoie, dated 1/16/25. Further into it, there's a letter from Johnson Borenstein, LLC's attorneys at law, Chestnut Street, Andover, and I believe they represent the abutters. That letter is dated January 16th.
Just to make it more clear, the Ambliotis letter is from the abutters, and the Johnson and Bornstein is from the applicants.
All right, okay. Well, move to receive.
We have a second.
Second.
Dr. Otto, thank you.
So that's that. You're up, Jack. 2 Central.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is John Kelty. I'm an attorney with offices at 40 Lowell Street here in Peabody, Massachusetts. I'm representing MK Peabody Investments, Inc. MK Peabody Investments, Inc. is the current owner of the property at 2 Central Street in Peabody, Mass. They are developing the property for use by Shoyu, which will be a fusion restaurant, creating a new cuisine being modeled after Japanese traditional and Japanese and Chinese foods. They have 2 locations currently with this restaurant, 3, I'm sorry, one in Boston, one in Saugus, and one in Andover. They are going to operate that restaurant as Shoyu. We have been before the Conservation Commission and received a notice of, we have filed a notice of intent and received an order of conditions for which the appeal period is running. We have applied for a full liquor license. The liquor license is currently under review. There are a couple of revisions that are needed to the application itself. I spoke with our investigating agent, and those will be cleared up, and that permit will issue, liquor license will issue probably early next week. They'll be finished with it. And we now appear before this board for site plan review of our construction plans. With that application, we filed our civil plans showing the site plan itself, and we have filed also architectural plans demonstrating the layout of the restaurant. Restaurant will be 2 floors, the street floor coupled with a second floor. Currently, if you've been by, you may see that there is construction taking place in the parking lot. The intention is the former drive-through has been demolished. There will be a deck extending from the second floor of the restaurant at the same level as the second floor, providing 12 feet of clearance beneath it, and the opportunity to drive from Mill Street to Central Street and in reverse, Central Street out to Mill Street. We filed the requisite fee, which I believe in this instance was the minimum $500. We have additionally provided the requisite plans to enable you to conduct site plan review. The checklist reveals that there is no project phasing, there are no residences. Instead, we've provided the conversion of this bank, formerly the Century Bank, into Shoyu, which will be a 2-floor restaurant with a large outdoor deck. To be pursued will be outdoor dining from the City of Peabody City Council. Councilor McGinn generally would like all of the other permits that are necessary to be issued before the City Council is asked to address the issues. And I think that we're going to be in a position to file for our outdoor dining on that deck in approximately 2 to 3 weeks. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. And our engineering, as I previously reflected, has been fully vetted through the engineering department as part of our conservation review. The principal issue at the conservation level was that this and virtually every other location in the lower portion of the city of Peabody is in a floodplain. As such, if you create any more impervious surface, that you have to provide compensatory storage. Non-engineers, I think, such as myself, find compensatory storage kind of a mythical issue, where we are putting columns in the ground to support our upper deck. Those, for instance, say they're 2 by 2. That 2 by 2, 4 square feet, extends 6 feet approximately into the ground. So we have to provide an area to store water that is now being denied with the presence of these columns. And then, because Peabody is approximately on our flood charts on our FEMA map, the possibility exists of 6 feet of water being in Peabody Square. So we have to provide storage for that column, the 4 square feet, 6 feet high. So that's 24 square feet times the number of columns. So it's almost like there were a phone booth out there that with glass, an old-fashioned glass phone booth that fills up with water for a limited period of time. However, it has been designed in that manner. It did have technical review, and we've passed all our technical reviews. We have adequately compensated and provided compensatory storage, and we're happy to be here and answer questions that you may have. Our civil engineer is Engineering Alliance, Rick Salvo. Rick originally intended to be available this evening. However, he expected to be able to do it Zoom from where he is, which is Framingham, for another planning board meeting, and he's incapable of connecting from that location to this. I think they have kind of blackout provision. So with that, I'm happy to address any concerns you may have.
Any questions from the board? Yes.
Through the chair, a couple questions. I guess the biggest one is, why so late in the process to be here? To be here. Yeah, why not 1 month, 2 months, 3 months ago? Why, like, the footing holes are dug, the roof is missing. I know there's a demo permit. Just seems very late to be here. Like you should have been here 2, 3, 4 months ago. That's just saying, my opinion.
An observation.
It's clearly an observation. And then there's a question about an easement across the property to get to the other property on Mill.
No.
So, no?
It's an easement that passes from Central out in an L-shaped fashion, out to Mill.
Yes.
And there are
For the
parking.
benefit of both parties.
Correct.
Right.
And so, as part of your packet is an objection because of the presence of the easement, and there's a response for from Attorney Lavoie, in which he indicates that the ability to provide the passage, we have 12 feet of clearance, 2 11-foot lanes on either side of our stanchions. So we are not impeding with the parking space, 2 parking spaces that are referenced in that easement. But I'm not, we believe that we've complied with the requirements of the easement. Attorney Ambiliotis and Attorney Lavoie are in discussions about the practical applications of whether or not our access supplies the adequate and statutory, any kind of lawful provisions with respect to easement law. There has been an area that is fenced in by our neighbors where they are no longer providing, but those are issues that really aren't germane to tonight's hearing. And I believe that, as Attorney Lavoie has said in his letter, those are matters for perhaps the court or perhaps for people of similar good intentions to get together and resolve the use of that easement. But we are aware of the easement, and we are aware of our necessity to keep an area open for travel by automobiles is all that is referenced in the easement. However, I'm aware that certainly that would apply to trucks as well, but they can pass in accordance with that easement from Central to Mill Street.
Yeah. So I read it as well, and I'm not in disagreement, but it doesn't say automobiles. It says motor vehicles. So pretty sure legal height for a truck is 13.6. So I suspect you're saying there's going to be 12 feet of clearance. You hopefully will put a sign there that says, 12 foot of clearance. Because what if a legal truck driving down the street goes to make a delivery or
Starrow Drive.
Excuse me?
Starrow Drive.
Well, yeah, but this is Peabody.
Clearance
We
issues.
don't have a Star Drive, and they have signs. But all I'm saying is, would you put a sign to say, caution, 12-foot clearance? Okay.
Sure, that can be done, but as I said earlier, I don't think the civil matter between the two parties and the interpretation of an easement is properly before
No, I'm
site plan review.
I'm just saying that
But sure, a
that's
sign could be accommodated.
clear. So, thank you. That's it.
Go ahead, Joe.
Through the chair, Mr. Kelty, so the height is 12 feet and the width is what, 10? 11 feet?
There's 11 feet from the building to the stanchion, and then 11 feet between stanchions, and then 12 feet between the stanchions, and then another 11 feet on the outside.
All right. Is there a concern or is there an existence of having air rights? How does that work? I mean, you got an easement, but is it an easement just 12 feet high, or do you have, in other words, if I own land, does the land keep going up, or is there air rights for someone else that they could purchase or lease or use or without my approval? How does that work?
I'm not here to opine on how that works, but I would point out that there were quite a few years of negotiation for air rights over the Turnpike, if you recall, in Newton.
Right.
Yeah, to build those buildings. And downtown, I think one of the Italian restaurants was above the... So there have been claims, there have been matters in which the air above an easement,
Right.
and that certainly is the case in the Commonwealth of Mass with respect to state highways, but I don't believe that's the issue here and will not be the issue. However, as I've said, I'm not here to make that fight, have that fight, or
No, I understand. I was
opine.
just, I guess my specific question is that, is there any adverse detriment to either a butter because there is a deck there? I mean, does that, what you're arguing that the easement's
In
not
our
affected
opinion,
at all?
no.
Yeah. So it's clear that it's written that there is an easement there. So my issue is that, I mean, I've been on this board for many, many years, and whenever there's an easement, there always, there's these little dotted lines coming down onto the lots and the plan showing exactly, specifically where that easement is, all right? This plan, and there's no plan that has the specific delineation of the easement itself. So and I agree, you mentioned before, this is a civil matter, that either the abutters need to work it out, or they're going to have to go to court and they'll have to, and figure out what to do with that. Hopefully they can just work it out and develop a new plan that shows specifically where that easement is. I understand there's an arrow here and there's an arrow there, but that's not specific enough as far as my opinion is. So that's the only issue I have, is that it's not, it's unclear where the easement is, because there is part of that land that is not part of the easement, and there's part there is. But again, is it that whole side, the whole two sides is an easement, or is there a specific part that's just 10 feet wide or 12 feet?
The material that was submitted to you by Attorney Ambiliotis shows where the parking areas are and an easement area specifically. That's correct.
Yeah, but you know what I'm talking about, you know, how you see those little dotted lines that show exactly where the easement might go
Yes.
through a property? That's what I'd like to see.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board? Dr. Otto?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To follow up on Joe's point, it is interesting that C3 shows two other easements, but not the easement we're talking about here. I agree also that it's not something that we should be adjudicating, but our plans always show easements, and I think this one should too. Second is a question. Will the second floor dining areas be accessible to people in wheelchairs? Accessible for people with mobility problems?
Yes, there will be an elevator.
Thank you. No other questions?
Any other questions from the board?
I have a couple. Attorney Kelty, the taxes are up to date on this property?
Certainly paid at closing and January tax bill paid? Oh, no, it's not January. It comes out in January and due,
okay.
yeah. I believe yes.
Secondly, you mentioned the city engineers having a,
Through the conservation process, yes.
and no complaints, no concerns?
No, there were not, and any recommendations they made are attached to our order of conditions. There was a review which said that they asked two things be done, small things, additions to the plan, and then they said that the sizing of the grease trap was going to be done independent of the Conservation Commission. That would be done in conjunction with the Board of Health, who would be looking at the issue of how much grease are we producing, what's our volume of water. We've shown, I believe, a 1,500-gallon grease trap. If we need one bigger, we'll put it in.
And lastly, has the fire department had any commentary, especially on the deck, if they have to get in there?
The fire department has not, and I had suggested that, you know, that we would reach out. I know that Chris is going to ask whether we can get trucks through with their turning radius. We have applied a radius map, which may, our plan, which may not be the exact plan that PFD uses, but we'll apply that and speak with not Chief Downing, but Captain Dowling as to what he would require. This is a little bit of a unique situation in the sense that it's such a small parcel of land. Building is accessible from Central Street, Mill Street, and from our parking lots. And I don't think we're going to have an issue with respect to turning radius or access to the premises, but I will look into that.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
One more, excuse me, through the chair again, sorry. Just a note, Mr. Attorney Kelty, you mentioned that the easement was, so I guess this is in reference to creating or editing a drawing to show the easement. The words are here. The words that describe the easement are in here. So, but if you take the direction of the couple of people on the board and edit the drawing to show the dotted lines, it does say in words that the easement is from Central Street in an easterly direction, not the other way that you mentioned. So there shouldn't be any traffic going from Mill, taking a right,
No.
and wrapping counterclockwise around the building. The entrance is on Central, and the exit is on Mill. It's not two-way. It says right here.
Correct.
Okay, that's all. Just saying. It's in writing, and it should be depicted on the drawing with arrows. Thank you.
Before I ask for a motion, I understand that the attorney...
Can I ask a couple questions?
Go ahead.
I know that DPW has reviewed this based upon Concom, but I've since talked with DPW, and they just had a couple other questions as well. They were wondering about your utilities, the pipes out there, and how you'll be getting sewer, water to there. Have you looked at the pipes? And they're adequate?
This is Michael Mee. So the question is whether or not we've been able to, I know we wanted permission to get into Mill Street. Are we in Mill Street so that we will have seen what we're connecting to and whether it needs to be replaced?
For the electric?
For the, no, for the sewer, water.
Source coming from Mill Street.
Yes.
From Mill Street, electric is from Mill Street.
Okay, water?
Water is from Mill Street.
Okay, so have you opened it so we know how those connections?
Not yet.
Because if they're inadequate, the planning board will say, replace them.
Because the thing is, we need to doing the sprinkler system. I hiring a company. They are already applying everything to do the water connection to the building. So they supposed to do like 2 months ago because of the weather. It's kept ringing like 2 months ago. And then we stopped it, waiting until next year. But they find out from the city was a water pipe coming from and the gas pipe, everything from the Mill Street. That's all I know from the construction people.
Yeah. I do know that before we were at the Conservation Commission, we were given some authority under an enforcement order in order to be able to fill some holes that we created, make it safe. At that same time, I believe that our contractor had asked for an excavation permit in order to look at the connections out, and I know it was in Mill Street. I spoke with Will Politz about it. So if the caveat or the recommendation is when we get them open, we're going to have to inspect them with the public services, and if they require new, different connections, we'll have to supply them.
So I just want that to be with the board. If a motion is to be chosen to be made this evening, that motion include that the utility access be inspected with DPW present and to satisfy any requirements from the DPW regarding utilities.
Access and
So this is just old building, old area. We want to just make sure that all the pipes and utility access is adequate and can work properly.
Yes, Mr. Gagnon.
Attorney Kelty, I just want to clarify something. The easement issue, I think, is a civil matter, and in my opinion, personally, I'm not voting tonight in relation to that easement. I'm just voting on the other stuff here. So that's a civil matter that needs to be handled by the abutters, or they'll have to take it to court, but that has nothing to do with the vote tonight. That's the way I feel. I don't know about the other board, but I just want to mention that. That's how my vote will be cast.
Thank you. Before I request a motion, I understand that the attorney for the letter that was against this project is here. Would he like to make a statement to the board?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Nick Ambliotis, and I practice law at 99 Rosewood Drive, Danvers, Massachusetts. And I'm here on behalf of the abutter, MRG Real Estate LLC and Hana Design LLC. So the reason we're here, the abutters, want to be good neighbors and want to see a nice project next door, but they have an issue with the deck. The deck is being constructed entirely on the abutters easement area. And, you know, the petitioner mentioned that, you know, that these plans have gone out for technical review, but I don't believe that they've been reviewed in light of the taking into account the fact that there's an actual easement on this property, and this easement's not shown on the site plan, and it hasn't been brought to anyone's attention until this week. And I look at the plans and I see the top of the deck. According to the plans that I looked at, the top of the deck is 10 feet high, which means that the clearance is not 10 or 11 feet. It's really probably 9 feet, you know, if the plans that I'm looking at are correct. The distance between the piles, according to the petitioner, the outer piles, it looks like 10 feet to me, and then the inner piles it appears to be 11 feet because you have to account for the rear staircase. Is that enough? Is that enough width for my clients to have the use and enjoyment of their easement? And as one of the board members pointed out, is that enough for? I mean, trucks require 13.6 feet of height. Emergency vehicles do as well, and emergency vehicles require 20 feet of width. And what if there's an issue with where an emergency vehicle or a truck needs to get access to the rear of the abutter's property? I just think that the project needs to be reviewed, taking into effect that there's actual easements on this property for the benefit of others. I do agree that this is a civil matter in terms of whether, you know, the issues raised by Attorney Lavoie's letter are valid or not. That we can certainly, if it goes to that, could be litigated in a court of law and not here, which is certainly not the proper forum for that. However, I don't believe that these plans have been properly submitted because these easements have not been noted on the plan, and the technical review that happens with the site plan review does not take into account the existence of these easements on that plan. And for those reasons, we ask that, you know, the matter be continued until the plan is revised and properly evaluated with those easements taking into account. Thank you.
Thank you. Any rebuttal, Mr. Kelty?
Not really, only that it is a civil matter or a matter for the parties to get together and resolve. Not one for the city to be reviewing, I don't think, reviewing plans for the development of a property, and then there's a dispute about a private easement. You know, what impact in a way I don't see the city of Peabody having to re-review everything mindful of an easement. Just not the way it usually is done, and I don't think appropriate here either.
Thank you. At this time, I will accept the motion from the board.
Chairman, I'd just like to say one thing through the chair, just so everybody understands that I would like nothing more than to see a vibrant, successful restaurant on that site. Nothing more. To be productive to the city of Peabody, to its residents, and from abutting communities to come down here and have a great meal. And so, you know, don't take my comments thinking that I'm against your project. I would like nothing more to see the place open, so.
Again, I will accept the motion.
Even though I do think this project is a bit on the fast track, I would like to see a revised plan with the easement on it, Attorney Kelty. But I'm going to move permit to issue with the condition.
Is your motion to see a revised copy and that you want the board to vote on that, or is your motion for potential
Let's make
approval?
that with the board. I would move to see a revised copy of the plan. Adding the easement.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Roll call on that, please.
Mr. Joseph Gagnon? Is it too late to make a comment?
I think we already have the motion. I think we should have the motion, the roll call.
Mr. Joseph Gagnon? Yes. Mr. John Ford?
Yes.
Attorney Peter Arvanites? Dr. Judith Otto?
Yes.
Mr. Roy Simos?
No.
Mr. Sean Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas Betancourt?
Yes.
5-2.
Again,
So where are we?
we still, would you like to make a motion to approve with those conditions?
No, you can't now.
Can't now?
What I would suggest, and I don't speak for anyone but myself, but perhaps a petitioner should come back at the next meeting with a revised plan and be ready to, and in the meantime, you could talk to the fire department, and maybe the city could inspect those utility connections.
Yeah, as a practical matter, that becomes a motion to revise, to see a revised plan and continue the matter February 6th.
It would be upon the
Two separate.
applicant to request a motion if the applicant feels that they need to. There might not be a positive vote for them. I will say that they are required as part of site plan filing to show any, let me just get the wording right. Site plan shall include any rights of ways and easements and their uses within the lot. So they will need to provide that on the plan. I would say that it is, though, the applicant's right to request that continuance or request a vote. But the board has voted to request a plan showing the easements on it.
So, having heard that vote, I would then respectfully request the matter be continued until February 6th. That work?
Move to grant the petitioner an extension of time until February 6th.
Second.
I'll take a roll call on this one, too.
Mr. Joseph Gagnon? Yes. Mr. John Ford? Yes. Attorney Peter Arvanites? Dr. Judith Otto?
Yes.
Mr. Roy Simos?
Yes.
Mr. Sean Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Thomas Betancourt?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
As this matter has now moved and will be going to the next matter, I will go retrieve Mr. Gonzalez.
Next item on the agenda is 0 Hardy Street, map 85, lot 001. This is an application by Michael Becker seeking a plan to review the redevelopment of a vacant 8,983 square foot commercially zoned parcel bordered by Harley Street, Monroe Street, Monroe Court, Central Street. This project consists of developing an existing paved site to accommodate the construction of an 8-unit condominium building.
That matter has been, this week was before construction review. There are myriad questions with respect to the development of the property. There were some very poignant and useful observations made at the at the Construction Committee meeting, and I would respectfully request that this matter be continued. I've done so with the writing earlier this afternoon, but I would ask that the matter be continued until February 6th, and we will file revised plans before, that's January 30th, I believe, the Thursday before.
Any questions from the board?
Yeah. So there seems to be reference in here to maybe reducing the number of units. That's a possibility. No?
Mr.
Reducing,
Simos,
reducing the number of units from 8 to something else?
Review committee, I think, saw a plan that had 9. My narrative, I think, says 8. I believe it'll come back at 8.
I see 9 doors, but it's only 8 units.
No, it was 9. It wanted to be 9 units. When we were at construction review, we were proposing it as 9 units, but I believe it will go to 8.
Well, this drawing shows 8. Whatever. There's 9 doors. One's a double unit, whatever. So did the issue of clearances to overhead wires come up at the construction
That
review?
issue got brought up by your representative. There's a concern about certain wires sagging, and it was brought up that we would have to provide sufficient clearance and that we should be working with PMLP to make sure there isn't too much sag. The wires, though, that are in question are out on the street, Hardy Street, and our building is set somewhat back.
Oh, I understand.
But I
And
do
I
believe...
also understand there's no sidewalk on either side of the street and all that good
Correct.
stuff. I understand. So did this have to go to Concom as well, or have you not gone there yet?
Oh, that went to Concom and was approved.
So there must be making you put in recharge, like stormwater recharge chambers underneath and stuff to...
Not in this instance.
Is it because there's
next
already...
door we are.
It's already impervious now?
It's already pervious, correct.
Because
And all
that
sheet
must have been
flows
the
currently.
floor of some previous building that was there. That
I believe
occupied
that's
the
correct.
entire footprint of the lot.
I believe it was Lipa Trucking.
Okay. That's all. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Dr. Otto?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chairman. We typically get building elevations that give us an indication of materials. I don't see that here. I got only the single plan. Can you speak to the building materials?
I will, when we left each other today, we are going to get new elevations. There were elevations provided. I guess they weren't provided with the application.
they should be with the application.
They did?
The elevations. Should also be in the online packet, too.
Don't see them. Oh, here we go.
It's a metal building, which will be treated on the outside to give it some added aesthetic qualities. And we, but that building will change. It's going to get smaller and a bit, I think, narrower.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if this is germane, but do you know in general, Attorney Kelty, if the neighbors to the north, which is the entrance to the car wash, if they expressed any ill will against this project that anybody knows of?
They did not come to the Conservation Commission, and I believe that to date that's been the only fully noticed out appearance.
Thank you.
I'm just going to grant the extension. Mr. Chairman, in the matter of 0 Hardy, I would move to grant the petitioner's request for an extension of time until February 6th.
Second.
All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appointments, a letter from Paul DiBiase, manager of Peabody Living LLC, dated the 26th of 2024, referencing Stonegate subdivision.
Mr. Chairman, if you remember, at the last meeting, the board received a letter from the representatives of the Stonegate subdivision, DiBiase Homes, I believe is the company, but it's from Stonegate, requesting the release of their bond and provided as-built. Since then, Department of Public Services has been in contact with them and have reviewed this, and there was a letter submitted yesterday, I believe, from Department of Public Services in regards to that request with a list of items and questions that need to be answered before this bond is to be released. DiBiase, Stonegate representatives have submitted a letter this morning requesting a continuance to the February 6th meeting.
Mr. Chairman, in the matter of Stonegate subdivision, I would move to receive a communication from James Nicholas, engineer, City of Peabody, outlining, I believe, 18 points that need to be addressed by Mr. DiBiase. Move to receive.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you.
Secondly, in the matter of Stonegate, I would move to receive a communication from Deandra DiBiase, requesting an extension of time until February 6, 2025. Move to receive communication and grant said extension.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Correspondence, we went through that with Agreement Peterson, Inc. Other matters properly before the board.
Mr. Chairman, just before the voting of officers and seating takes place, as the board members may remember, Dr. Otto had taken on the Herculean task of revising the subdivision rules and regulations. This now will be spanning 2 years, well, into our second year now, and as such would require a motion to continue said action of subcommittee. So if anybody wishes to make a motion to, Dr. Otto, you can help me out here with what the exact wording needs to be, but to continue this subcommittee.
Mr. Chairman, move to extend the work of the Rules and Regulations Committee in accordance with our own procedural rules, which require us to reconvene in every calendar year.
Have a second on that motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you. The matters properly before the board. Need to have recommendations for the offices of chairman, vice chairman, secretary of the board.
In the matter of electing officers, I would move to recommend Tom Betancourt as chairman.
Second.
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 I will accept. A roll call vote, please.
Mr. Joseph Gagnon?
Yes.
Mr. John Ford?
Yes.
Attorney Peter Arvanites? Dr. Judith Otto,
Yes.
Mr. Matthew Gonzali,
Yes.
Mr. Roy Simos,
Yes.
Mr. Sean Walsh.
Yes.
Thank you. Next officer is Vice Chairman. We have a recommendation.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board nominate John Ford as Vice Chairman of the Board for 2025.
Second.
Second.
Mr. Joseph Gagnon,
Yes.
Attorney Pete Arvanites, Dr. Judith Otto,
Yes.
Mr. Matthew Gonzali,
Yes.
Mr. Roy Simos,
Yes.
Mr. Sean Walsh,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas Betancourt.
Yes. Next item is Secretary. We have a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Attorney Avanitis for the position of Secretary of the Planning Board.
Second.
Second.
Mr. Joseph Gagnon,
Yes.
Mr. John Ford,
Yes.
Dr. Judith Otto,
Yes.
Mr. Matthew Gonzali,
Yes.
Mr. Roy Simos,
Yes.
Mr. Sean Walsh,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas Betancourt.
I accept.
Thank you. Next item is board member seating.
You have to say yes.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Next, we'll be passing out a block for board member seating. You will all pick a number, and that will be your seating for the board for next year.
Mr. Joseph Gagnon. Okay. Tom Ford. I'm sorry, John Ford. Attorney Pete Arvanites. Four. Dr. Judith Otto. Nine. Mr. Matthew Gonzali. Eight. Mr. Roy Simos. Three. So we're going to need someone to pick for Mr. Dennis Ford. Sorry, Mr. Dennis Feld. One. Mr. Sean Walsh. Six. And then Mr. Thomas Betancourt. Okay.
Any other matters properly before the board?
Motion to adjourn?
Second. Aye.
Again, I'd like to thank every member of this board for their attendance and dedication to the city of Peabody for 2024, and I hope we can continue this through 2025. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the chairman as well for your good work.